In this exercise, we will learn marquee tools. Basically, marquee tools are used to make selections in images. Let's see how these tools will work. If I move my arrow key on Tools, and here we can see the rectangular marquee tool. If I right-click on it, we can see that M is the shortcut key. And we also have elliptical marquee tool, single row marquee tool, and single column marquee tool. We don't have shortcut keys for the single column and single row marquee tools because these are not usually used in Photoshop. The rectangular marquee tool and the elliptical marquee tool are mostly used for the selection of any part of an image. Okay. Let's select the rectangular marquee tool to see how it will work by pressing M on your keyboard. And now, click and drag your mouse to create a selection. We can see we have created a selection, and we can move around it by clicking inside of it. If I single-click anywhere, the selection will be erased. Okay. If I press and hold the Alt key and drag it again, we can see it is now creating a proportional selection, and the center point will be where I clicked and dragged my selection. Something like that. Okay, if I press and hold the Shift and Alt key, and then I click and drag, now we can create a perfect square shape. Okay. If I click and drag to make another selection around this boat, for example, and press Ctrl and C for copy, and press Ctrl and V for paste, we have made a selection in a separate layer. Now we can just hide this layer to see the results. Okay, let's undo that. And now we can see above its control options. I will tell you about those later. But first, let's see the elliptical marquee tool now, because both tools work the same, and their control options are also the same. Let's right-click on the rectangular marquee tool and select elliptical marquee tool, or to use the shortcut key, press Shift and M to select this tool. Okay, now, let's click and drag. We can see we have made a selection. And if I press and hold the Alt key and then click and drag, you can see where I started my selection and its center point. We can drag around it. If I press Shift and Alt key and click and drag, then we can see we now have a perfect circle. Okay. Now, if you press Ctrl and T for transform and move it, we can see we have a cutout selection. Press Enter and Ctrl D to deselect the selection. Perfect. Now let's undo that by pressing Ctrl and Z more times to make it default. Okay, now let's talk about both control options. We can see we have all the same control options, but the elliptical marquee tool has an anti-alias option. Keep this checked on. Anti-alias helps us to create smooth and nice selections around the edges. Okay, let's select the rectangular marquee tool. And we can see we have some options above. We have New Selection, Add New Selection, Subtract to Selection, and Intersect to Selection. Okay, let's make a new selection here. Click and drag, and choose Add option. And now click and drag on it. We can see here we have added the selection on it. We also have a shortcut here. We can press and hold the Shift key and then drag on it. And we have the same results. Okay, next we have the Subtract option. Just click and drag on it. We can see we have subtracted the selection. And if I press and hold the Alt key and drag, we have also subtracted it perfectly. Okay, next we have the Intersect option. Just click and drag. we can see we have perfectly intersected the area where it is selected, and the remaining area is removed. For a shortcut, if I press and hold Shift and Alt and then drag, then we have intersected it perfectly. Okay, you're doing amazing. Next, we have the feather option. The feather option is used to make edges in a selection softer. It just blends the edges by making a selection. All right, now let's increase the feather and make a new selection here. Press Ctrl and C for copy and Ctrl V to paste, and let's hide this layer. Now we can see the edges are very soft. It is the perfect option to make soft edges in the selection of an image. Okay, next we have style options, and we can choose fixed ration. And let's put any size here in width and draw a selection. We can see it is just a fixed ratio of selection. We can adjust it, or we can also switch the width and height by clicking on the double arrow key in the center. And now we have a fixed size ratio. We can put any specific ratio. Just click on it and move it, something like this. All right, next we have Select and Mask option. We will cover this option later. Now, let's see the anti-alias option in the elliptical marquee tool. If I check this on, create a circle, and press Ctrl and C for copy, and Ctrl and V for paste, and then just hide this layer, zoom in to see the edges, you can see the edges are very sharp and smooth. Great. Okay, let's undo that now. Now check this off and create a new selection. Press Ctrl C and Ctrl V for paste, and let's hide this layer and zoom in. Now you can see the edges are very jagged and not smooth. So always check the anti-alias mark on for smooth edges. And that is very, very cool. Okay, in the next exercise, we will learn the lasso tool.